everyone. So I just finished playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. You can see my whole playthrough on my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description, but I have a playlist for all my videos in there. And yeah, I had a blast playing this game. So this game was developed by EA and Respawn Entertainment. Respawn is the people who made Titanfall and Apex Legends. I do really enjoy them as a studio. I do, right off the bat, have to say that when this game was first announced, I was very skeptical about it just because of the EA tagline. I've had a very, not even love-hate relationship, a very just non-trusting relationship with EA in the last years, especially when it comes to their Star Wars games. But after kind of seeing the praise fans were giving it after its initial release, and same thing too, some of my friends saying it's amazing, you gotta play it, so I gave it a shot, and yeah, without a doubt, this was a great step forward for EA's relationship with Star Wars, and especially Star Wars games, and I'm really excited to see what they can do more of if they take kind of this formula and this level of passion onto their further games. But yeah, let's get into the game itself. So yeah, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a true single-player campaign, and it's awesome. You play as a young Jedi named Cal, and basically Cal was a Jedi Padawan when Order 66, Palpatine basically, which was a code word to just basically turn all of the clones on the Jedi and just basically mass extinction of the Jedi. And Cal, like I said, was a young apprentice at the time, and since he's on the run and he had to hide who he was, he never really tapped into the Force for a little bit. So at the start of this game, and kind of as you progress, Cal is still unlocking a lot of these Jedi abilities that he hid away, and I thought the game did it in a really smart way where you're put in a dire situation where you need a certain power, and then it would go to a flashback of young Cal training with his Jedi Master, and you would unlock the power through like this little flashback, and then you would use it in the real world. And I thought it was a really cool, unique, and fun way to kind of bring these powers in. But yeah, that being said, this all ties into the combat of the game, which has a very big Dark Souls feeling to it, and it does it in a really good, flawless way. The combat is super challenging, which definitely caught me off guard. It frustrated me a little bit, but it's kind of in Dark Souls fashion. You learn the enemy's attacks, and yeah, you basically learn your moves and what works best, and you're able to fight your way through. And it also too, the game gives you kind of force bars and a bunch of abilities you can unlock, and it also gives you stim packs. Just basically, you get 3 total, but they're a way for you to heal yourself in combat, and you get 3, and until you get to kind of a save point, which is in the form of meditation, where you can upgrade Cal, or you can just basically save your game, meditate, you get 3 more. So you have to be conservative with them. They're there for you to use. So you should be using kind of all 3 when you can, unless you're that good and you can't take a hit. But yeah, no, the combat was very, very challenging, and kind of working your way through it and getting all these new abilities and finding out how to fight ways, how to parry properly. And too, when it came to the boss fights, which are unbelievable in this game, it just made it really challenging and really, like I said, really fun. Frustrating at times, but really, really fun when you could pick apart your enemies and know what worked best against them and how to best defeat them. But yeah, a lot of this game is you're on the run from the Empire when they find out that Cal is a Force user. And you have to fight a couple Inquisitors in this game. You have a crew, which is a guy named Grease, who's a pilot of a ship, and then a former Jedi, who actually I found was probably one of the most interesting Star Wars characters they brought in, not just in video game form, but just entertainment form in a long time. Her name is Seer, former Jedi, and same thing too, she's blocked away her powers because she has such a tragic backstory, and she's such an interesting character. I found myself more interested in her than I was Cal at times, just because of her story and all her motivations for doing what they're doing. But without giving too much away, basically you're trying to restore the Jedi Order in this game, and just find Force-sensitive children and train them in the ways of the Force and the ways of the Jedi to bring them back and combat the Empire. Yeah, like I said, the combat in this game really felt like reminiscent of Dark Souls, and then some of the other like bigger action set pieces felt sometimes like Crash Bandicoot, sometimes like Uncharted, which are both Naughty Dog games. But yeah, it was just a good kind of blend of a bunch of different styles of games that they did a really good job putting together. And I think too, once sequels come out, they'll be able to kind of build upon some of these mechanics and just make a really, really fun experience for games to come. The one thing too that I really liked about this game is there was a lot of exploring that you could do in it. And like there's a bunch of kind of hidden chests, hidden loot boxes, hidden bosses that you can fight. And some of them you can't get to until later in the game when you unlock all these new powers, as I was mentioning earlier on in the game. So when you kind of return back to these old planets, it opens up basically like the first time you do it, it seems like you only unlock 20% of the map. The first planet is kind of Bogano, and then you come back and there's just so many possibilities for you to do now that you have all these new abilities, and it makes the replayability very, very fun to do. And I can't wait to kind of hop back into it and see what I missed in some of these old planets now that I have all of these new abilities. There is a lot of customization that you can do in this game too, which I thought was a lot of fun. You can customize your lightsaber, the color of your kyber crystals, the color of it, kind of the different emitters. You just get to personalize it a little bit, and I really like that. And then too, there's skins for, you have a droid buddy who's super cute and super awesome. His name is BD1, who's the one who shoots the Stimpaks at you, and he can scan a bunch of stuff. He's a really helpful companion, but you can change his skin a little bit. Also too, the ship that you get in the game, you can change the skin of that. And then I kind of laughed at it a little bit at first. I didn't really like any of them, but then I thought a little bit about it. But you unlock ponchos in this game, and I just didn't really like the look of a lot of them. I didn't think it suited Cal when you just had the basic uniform. But then I kind of remembered that like both Luke and even Qui-Gon Jinn wore ponchos when they were Jedi Masters, so I don't think it was too far-fetched to put ponchos in the game. It's just I hope in the next one they kind of fit them a little better. I thought they just looked a little awkward on Cal. One thing too that I did enjoy about this game was when you're on your ship and traveling in between planets, there is no cutscenes. It's pretty seamless. It's just kind of, it really makes you feel like you're traveling in a ship, and you can see the light speed come up, you're in your cabin and everything goes by. But then from this, I have to complain a little about, there was times where you kind of like enter a new area and it would take almost 15 seconds for everything to render around you. And then sometimes too, I thought my game was freezing on me just because like the save screen and the load screen in the bottom right corner was going, but my game was paused and the sound would stop, and it did really take me out of the game at some points, and I just thought it was really annoying and a little tedious. So just made me wonder a little bit how like you can travel in between planets so quickly and so seamlessly, and it looks so smooth, but then all of a sudden your game would just pause on you, the music would stop, and like I said, I got worried sometimes thinking, oh, my game froze, am I gonna have to redo this whole section now? But yeah, this game, I thought it made a lot of sense that how challenging it was, because like I said, Cal, he hadn't used his force powers ever since he was a child. He never really completed his training. So when you go up against stormtroopers, like if there's a group of 8 or 10 of them, at first it's really challenging because like I said, you don't have all these powers, you haven't tapped into it a little bit. And I thought that's what made this game so much more engaging. And because for most any other powerful Jedi, they would just be able to go in there and hack these people down like it's nothing, which kind of near the end of the game you start to see a little bit of that, but it's still challenging because they throw more enemies at you, more enemy types, different types that you have to adjust to and know their moves, their combats, and it, like I said, it just kept you on your toes the entire time. It was really challenging, especially too with some of the boss fights, which yeah, there's times where you get halfway through the fight, you take down their life bar halfway, and then all of a sudden they're throwing everything at you and it's crazy, and you don't really have a way to combat it or do what they're doing too. But I feel like in the next game, they're going to be able to build a lot more, add more planets in, new weapon types, and even to new abilities for Cal to use, since he's becoming a lot stronger with the Force, and I'm really excited to play those down the line. And I think too, this was just kind of a stepping stone to show what Respawn could do with Star Wars, and I'm very excited to see kind of all the abilities and what they can add into it. It's a little complaint from something that I thought was cool. You get 3 different weapon builds in this game, so one of them is just your single one-bladed lightsaber, then you upgrade it to a 2-bladed lightsaber, and then you can upgrade it to 2 individual lightsabers. And I wish that they would have done something where there was a skill tree for every single type of lightsaber. One individual skill tree for the single-bladed lightsaber, one individual skill tree for the 2-bladed lightsaber, and then another one for the 2 blades. Like your main weapon is the 1-bladed lightsaber, and then eventually when it comes to kind of crowd clearing, you use the 2-bladed lightsaber. But there's only one attack that you can do with double lightsabers, like the two lightsabers, and like it was a very powerful attack, but I was really excited because I thought you would be able to wield both all the time, but that's not the case in this game. So if there's one thing that I really want in the next game is kind of an individual build for the 3 lightsaber types. To the end of this game, I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but there was one scene where they introduced a character from the Star Wars canon, and I'm really glad that they didn't actually have Cal fights this person, because there's no way that he could have taken it on. It was just basically a sequence where I was like, oh crap, like I need to go, and that's what the story actually did. It was like, yeah, you're not going to be able to take this guy on, get out of here. And it was a really awesome scene to kind of bring this character in, and also to just bring more of the Star Wars universe in for future games. And yeah, I can't wait for the future games. I feel like there's a lot that they need to improve on, but it's nothing that they can't improve on or won't improve on. So very excited to see where they take the series from here. Yeah, Star Wars Fallen Jedi kept me on my toes, frustrated me a little bit, but it felt so rewarding and so awesome when I finally got through some of these tougher sections of the games. It was a lot of fun, really unique. I have to say, out of all the Star Wars games that I played, this is easily my favorite one. Just so unique and so much fun and so refreshing too, coming from a studio under EA to release. But I feel like Respawn really kept them intact, and for them to put out like this, a single player without any loot box or microtransactions in your face, it was really awesome to see. And that's why I have to give Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a 9 out of 10. It is 100% worth buying at full price and playing as many times as you possibly can. This game was so great, and I can't wait for more. But yeah, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section, leave a like, let me know kind of what your favorite moments of this game were, or just what you're excited to see from sequels in this game, and also to leave and subscribe. But awesome guys, have a good one.